Arya of the Zentari species stood tall on the observation deck of her ship, gazing at the blue planet known as Earth. The stars twinkled around her as she contemplated her mission. Her silver skin reflected the dim light while her 4 eyes blinked, in sequence a sign of her deep thought. Arya had been sent to study humans as part of the Galactic Alliance research team. Zentari women like her dominated their society with their superior strength and intelligence. Their men were considered weak and unsuitable for important tasks. Arya herself had risen through the ranks by dismissing any male who attempted to assist her. The ship computer chimed softly, signaling their approach to the human space station where first contact would occur. Arya straightened her ceremonial armor and addressed her all-female crew. "We must remember that these humans are primitive, but the Alliance requires we establish diplomatic relations," she said, her voice carrying the musical tones of her species. "Do not be distracted by their males, they are likely even more useless than our own." Her second-in-command, Vela, nodded in agreement. "Our scans show they allow males in positions of authority, most curious indeed." Arya found this fact disturbing. How could a species advance with such backward practices, she wondered. Their ship docked with the human station with a gentle hiss of equalizing pressure. Arya prepared to meet the human delegation, her translator implant ready to convert their primitive sounds into proper language. When the airlock opened, Arya expected to see the female leaders instead. She found herself facing a human male standing confidently at the front of the group. He had brown hair and eyes that reminded her of the oceans. On her homeworld, greetings, representative of the Zentari, he said with a bow. "My name is Nathan Bell, Chief Diplomat of Earth Alliance Area," blinked her 4 eyes in surprise. Not only was this male speaking for the humans, but he showed no fear or submission. Before her towering form, she stood nearly 7 feet tall while he barely reached 6 feet. "Where are your female leaders?" she demanded, her voice sharp with disapproval. Nathan smiled patiently. On Earth, all genders serve equally in leadership roles. "I was selected for my diplomatic skills, not my gender." This concept seemed absurd to Arya, but she maintained her composure. Following protocol, she invited the humans aboard her ship for discussions. The human delegation included both males and females, all dressed in similar blue uniforms. Arya noticed how they treated each other with equal respect, a practice completely foreign to her world. "This is Kathy Wilson, our Chief Science Officer." Nathan introduced a human female with short blonde hair, and Mary Foster, our military advisor. He continued, pointing to a dark-skinned female with braided hair. Arya acknowledged them with a slight nod, then turned to her crew. "Prepare the meeting chamber. We will begin formal discussions immediately." As they walked through the corridors of the Zentari ship, Nathan asked questions about their technology and culture. Arya answered briefly, annoyed by his presumption that he could understand such advanced concepts. "Your propulsion system is fascinating," remarked. "It seems to use principles similar to our theoretical warp drive model. Show what you know of such things?" Arya asked sharply. "Humans barely leave their own solar system." Nathan smiled. "We may be new to interstellar travel, but we understand. The physics our scientists have developed theories that match what I observe on your ship." Arya fell silent, surprised by his insight in the meeting chamber. The humans presented information about Earth, its resources, governance, and technological capabilities. Arya was reluctantly impressed by their presentation, especially when Nathan smoothly answered her most challenging questions. "Our world is governed by a global council with representatives from all regions," he explained. "We seek peaceful exchange of knowledge and resources." "And your military capabilities?" Arya asked, testing him. "We maintain defensive capabilities, but our primary focus is exploration and diplomacy," Nathan answered, meeting her gaze steadily. "We hope the Zentari share this priority." Arya studied him carefully, looking for signs of deception but found none. This human male behaved nothing like the submissive, weak males of her world. He showed intelligence, confidence, and skill. When the formal meeting ended, Arya assigned Vela to show the humans to their quarters while she retreated to her private chamber to report to the Zentari High Council. "The humans are primitive, but not as primitive as we expected," she reported to the holographic image of High Commander Lyra. "Their males participate in leadership roles, yet they have achieved space travel and rudimentary AI technology." High Commander Lyra frowned, her silver face creasing with concern. Are they a threat? Not immediately, Arya replied. But they learn quickly. Especially the male diplomat. He shows unusual aptitude. Observe them closely. Lyra ordered. Gather all information about their social structure and technology. The council will decide if they are worthy of alliance or merely conquest. Arya acknowledged the order, but felt an unusual hesitation. She had always followed the council's directives without question, yet something about these humans, particularly Nathan Bell, made her wonder if the Zentari approach was correct. That night she reviewed the sensor data. From the meeting, her focus repeatedly drawn to Nathan's calm, confident demeanor and insightful questions. Why would humans allow males such authority when they were clearly the weaker sex? It made no logical sense, yet Earth seemed to function well. Despite this apparent flaw, tomorrow would begin a week of intensive cultural exchange and negotiation. Arya decided she would study Nathan closely. Perhaps understanding his role would help her understand the strange contradictions of human society, and why, despite their flawed social structure, they had achieved so much. She closed her 4 eyes to rest, but her mind continued to puzzle over the human male who defied all her expectations of what males should be. Morning came with the soft glow of artificial lighting inside the Zentari ship. Arya prepared herself for the day ahead, smoothing her silver uniform and adjusting the ceremonial pins that marked her rank. Her mind still dwelling on the puzzling, humans, especially their male diplomat. The second day of negotiations began with a tour of the Zentari ship. Arya led the human delegation through the engineering deck where the massive crystal engines pulsed with blue energy, or drive system converts dark energy into propulsion. Nathan observed, this is far beyond our current technology but matches theories proposed by our physicist Linda Adams. Arya tilted her head, studying him. You know much about physics for a diplomat. Nathan smiled. I studied engineering before diplomacy. Understanding technology helps me build bridges between cultures. Bridges? Arya questioned, confused by the metaphor. Not literal bridges, Nathan explained. It's an expression meaning creating connections. Understanding. Arya noted this curious use of language. Humans seemed fond of such imprecise communication as they continued the tour. The ship's alert system suddenly blared, warning lights flashing red. Emergency in engineering section 3. Containment failure imminent. Without hesitation, Arya sprinted toward the danger zone, the humans following despite her orders to stay back. When they reached the affected area, thick smoke poured from a ruptured conduit. The cooling system is failing, her engineer Nexa reported, panic in her voice. If the crystal matrix overheats, it could destabilize the entire power grid. Arya assessed the situation quickly. We must bypass the damaged section and reroute power. I might be able to help. Nathan stepped forward. Our cooling systems use similar principles. Arya wanted to dismiss him, but the urgency of the situation overrode her prejudice. Very well. Show us. Nathan examined the systems, then pointed to an auxiliary conduit. If we reconfigure this pathway, it could absorb the excess heat long enough for repairs. Working together, the human and Zentari teams implemented the solution. Nathan crawling into a narrow maintenance shaft to manually reset a valve that was beyond reach of the Zentari tools. The crisis passed with only minor damage to the ship afterward. Arya found herself reluctantly impressed. That was quick thinking, she acknowledged. Nathan wiped sweat from his forehead. Teamwork crosses species boundaries, it seemed. Teamwork. Arya thought the concept seemed foreign. To her, the Zentari way valued individual achievement and strict hierarchy, not cooperation across ranks or genders. That evening, the humans hosted a reciprocal gathering in their quarters, sharing food and customs from Earth. Nathan explained each dish and tradition with evident pride. This is called pizza, he said, offering Arya a triangular food item, a favorite across many Earth cultures. Arya cautiously tasted it, finding the blend of flavors strange but not unpleasant. Your food is interesting, complex like your species. Nathan laughed. Humans are definitely complex. We have thousands of cultures, languages, and beliefs, yet we find ways to work together. Arya observed the easy interaction between the human males and females, noticing how they listened to each other with equal attention. Such behavior would be unthinkable on her world where males spoke only when addressed by females. Why do your females allow males such freedom? She asked Mary Foster, who stood nearby. Mary looked surprised. By the question allow our social structure isn't about permission, it's about equality. We value contributions based on merit, not gender. Equality. Arya repeated the word, feeling strange in her mouth. The concept alien to her thinking as the gathering, continued Nathan, shared stories of Earth, its oceans, forests, and mountains, its history of conflicts and cooperation. Arya found herself drawn into his tales, picturing the blue planet with growing curiosity later. When most had retired, Arya discovered Nathan in the ship's library viewing historical records of Zentari civilization. "You should rest," she said. Approaching silently, he looked up, not startled by her presence. "I find your history fascinating, especially how your species evolved. Separate. Gender roles." Arya sat across from him. "It is natural females are stronger, more intelligent. It has always been this way." Nathan considered this on Earth. Different human populations evolved different traits under different conditions, but none proved. Universally superior intelligence, creativity, and strength appear in all genders and peoples, but surely some must lead and others follow. Arya argued, "Leadership can be situational." Nathan replied, "The best mountain climber leads in the mountains. The best sailor leads at sea." Fixed hierarchy limits potential. Arya had never considered such flexibility in leadership. Such ideas bordered on disorder in Zentari thinking. Yet she could not deny the evidence before her. These humans with their strange equality had achieved much in their short history. Watching Nathan study the Zentari records with genuine interest, Arya felt something shift in her understanding. Perhaps there were different kinds of strength, different forms of intelligence then. Those her people recognized the next morning as negotiations continued. Arya found herself listening more carefully to the human perspectives, particularly Nathan's. She noticed things she had missed before: his careful attention to others, his ability to synthesize complex ideas, his willingness to both lead and follow as situations required. These observations disturbed her, challenging everything she had been taught about male inferiority. Could the Zentari be wrong about such a fundamental truth? The thought was both frightening and somehow liberating. By midday, Arya made an unprecedented decision. She invited Nathan to join her for a private meal in her quarters, a setting normally reserved for equals. Her crew exchanged shocked glances, but she ignored them. Arya's personal quarters reflected her status as commander, sparse, elegant, with walls displaying holographic scenes from the Zentari homeworld. Nathan entered with appropriate respect, his eyes widening at the crystal waterfall that seemed to flow through one wall. "This is beautiful," he said, gesturing to the hologram. "Our mountains on the northern continent." She explained the place where I completed my survival trials. They seated themselves at a small table where Arya had arranged a selection of foods compatible with human biology. She watched as Nathan sampled each dish with genuine curiosity. "You take risks eating alien food?" he observed. Nathan smiled. "Calculated risks. I studied your biological data, and these foods appear safe for humans." Diplomacy often begins at the dining table. Arya found his approach sensible, though she would never admit it. "I wish to understand your species better, especially this concept of gender equality. It seems inefficient." Nathan considered before answering. "Efficiency depends on your goal. If the goal is using all available talent, then our approach maximizes resources." He explained how Earth had evolved from societies with rigid gender roles toward more flexible structures. Our history showed us that limiting opportunities based on gender wasn't just unfair. It was wasteful. Arya listened with growing interest. "How could you overcome biology?" she asked. "Males on my world lack physical strength, emotional control, and analytical thinking." Nathan leaned forward. "Biological differences exist, but they don't predetermine capability or character. Some of Earth's greatest scientists were physically weak. Some of our strongest leaders were emotionally expressive. Diversity of thought and ability benefits." Usalis, they spoke. Arya began to see inconsistencies in her people's beliefs. Zentari males were rarely given education or opportunity, yet their inferiority was considered natural. Perhaps the difference was circumstance, not nature. Their meal was interrupted by an urgent communication from the ship's sensor operator. "Commander, we detect an approaching vessel unidentified and not responding to." Hail's. Arya rose immediately. "I will come to the bridge." She turned to Nathan. You should return to your delegation. Instead of leaving, Nathan asked, May I observe your procedures? Perhaps I can offer insight against protocol. Arya agreed, allowing him to accompany her to the bridge where her crew monitored the approaching ship. It appears to be a raider. Vessel Vela reported, likely Draxian. They prey on diplomatic missions seeking technology. Arya assessed their options. Shields are at full power. Prepare defensive measures. The raiders' ship launched without warning. Small fighter craft swarming toward them. Arya directed evasive maneuvers, but one fighter broke through their defenses, attaching to the hull near the environmental controls. They are attempting to breach the hull. Nexa reported Arya considered the optimal response, but before she could issue orders. Nathan spoke. Your shield configuration is creating a blind spot near the ventral section. If you modify the frequency pattern, you could cover. Vela looked outraged at his presumption, but Arya quickly reviewed his suggestion, finding merit in it. Implement the frequency shift she ordered and target those fighters. The adjustment worked, strengthening their defenses, but the attached raider craft began cutting through the hull. We must dislodge them, Nathan said. Do you have exterior maintenance drones? We do, Arya confirmed. Could they be reprogrammed to release magnetic pulses? Arya saw his plan immediately and nodded to her engineer. Make it so. The drones deployed emitting pulses that disrupted the raiders' cutting tools, forcing them to disengage the Zentari ship, then accelerated away from the attackers, outrunning them easily. The crisis passed. Arya acknowledged Nathan's contribution. That was quick thinking. He shrugged. Just applying physics. The principles are universal. Arya noticed her crew's reaction. Some appeared shocked at taking advice from a male. Others seemed impressed despite themselves. She herself felt conflicted. His intelligence and quick thinking contradicted everything she believed about male capabilities. That night, unable to sleep, Arya accessed the ship's database, researching Earth history. She found accounts of human societies that once restricted female roles much as Zentari did. She read about the gradual change as humans discovered the benefits of equality. She wondered, could Zentari society evolve similarly? Would it make them stronger or weaker? The questions troubled her, challenging her most basic assumptions. The next morning, negotiations continued, but Arya found herself watching both the humans and her own crew with new awareness. She noticed how the human team functioned smoothly with leadership, shifting naturally based on expertise, regardless of gender. She also observed her own crew's rigid hierarchy. The talented males among her technical staff silenced and overlooked. During a break, Nathan found her at the observation window. Your ship is truly remarkable, he said. The engineering particularly impressive. Arya nodded, accepting the compliment. Our technology is advanced, but your approach to social structure has advantages I had not considered. Nathan seemed surprised by her admission. Every civilization finds its own path, but we can learn from each other. That is the purpose of diplomacy. His words resonated with her. Perhaps learning was indeed possible. Even for the proud Zentari, the afternoon brought a scheduled demonstration of Zentari combat techniques. Arya herself led the exhibition, showing the humans their advanced martial arts, her silver body moving with lethal precision. Impressive, Nathan said afterward. Your fighting style uses the opponent's momentum. Like our Aikido, Arya had not expected him to understand combat theory. Tell me about this. Aikido. Nathan demonstrated a simple movement, explaining the philosophy of redirecting force rather than opposing it directly. It requires less strength but more awareness. Arya tried the movement, finding it effective, though different from her training. She noticed Vela watching with disapproval. Commander, she said later when they were alone, you show unusual interest in the human male. I study their ways for tactical advantage. Arya replied, aware the explanation sounded hollow even to herself. Vela persisted. The crew notices your attention to him. It undermines authority. Arya straightened her full height, looming over her second in command. My authority comes from the High Council, not crew opinion. Continue preparations for tomorrow's negotiations. Alone later, Arya confronted her own changing perspectives. Why did she value Nathan's insights? Why did his presence affect her so strongly? It was not mere physical attraction. Though human form was not unappealing to Zentari, it was something deeper. His mind, his approach to the universe challenged everything she had accepted as truth. That night a message arrived from the High Council. They had reviewed her reports and made a decision the humans would be offered limited trade rights, but no access to advanced technology. They were deemed too unpredictable, too equal to be trusted with Zentari knowledge. Arya read the directive with growing unease. For the first time she questioned the wisdom of the Council. Was their judgment clouded by the same prejudice that had limited her own thinking before meeting Nathan? Morning of the fourth day brought new tension to the negotiations Arya presented. The High Council's limited offer to the human delegation, watching their faces carefully. These terms are quite restrictive. Nathan observed, his expression neutral. The Council feels caution is warranted. Your species is young, Arya explained, not mentioning the real reasons. Nathan studied the document. Humans have much to offer beyond our technology, our art culture, scientific approach. All could benefit the Zentari area. Felt caught between loyalty to her people and the growing sense that the Council was wrong. I must follow my orders. Nathan nodded. I understand duty. We will consider these terms and respond tomorrow. As the humans left to discuss privately, Arya felt dissatisfied with the situation. She had seen enough of humans to know they deserved better treatment. But challenging the Council was unthinkable for any Zentari, especially over the word of a male. That afternoon she invited Nathan to observe Zentari scientific procedures in the ship's laboratory. She watched as he examined their advanced analysis equipment with genuine understanding. You isolate quantum particles differently than we do, he noted. Your method seems more efficient. Nexa, the chief scientist, looked surprised. How would you know our methods? Nathan explained the human approach to quantum analysis, drawing diagrams to illustrate his points. Soon he and Nexa were engaged in deep discussion. Arya observed with interest as her scientist gradually forgot she was speaking with a male, focusing instead on the exchange of ideas. Such interaction would be impossible on the Zentari homeworld, where males never entered scientific facilities. Yet here it seemed natural, productive, even when Nathan suggested a modification to an experiment. Nexa implemented it without hesitation, the result showing immediate improvement. Arya saw the surprise and respect on her scientist's face later that evening. The ship's sensors detected an unusual phenomenon, a spatial rift forming nearby. Arya ordered investigation. Readings indicate a quantum instability. Nexa reported it appears to be a naturally occurring wormhole, but it's growing rapidly. Arya assessed the danger. It threatens both our vessels. We should move to safe distance before they could maneuver. The rift expanded dramatically, enveloping both the Zentari ship and the nearby human station. Alarms blared as systems fluctuated, spatial distortion affecting propulsion. Vela reported, we cannot move. Nathan arrived at the bridge with Kathy Wilson, the human scientist. We detected the rift too, he said. May we assist? Arya nodded. Emergency overriding protocol. Kathy examined the sensor data. This resembles phenomena we studied in the Tau system. The quantum field is disrupting your crystal matrix. How would you address it? Arya asked. Nathan suggested we could create a resonance field to stabilize the quantum fluctuations. Our station has the equipment, but we'd need to synchronize with your ship's systems. Arya considered her engineer's skeptical expressions, but decided to trust the humans' coordinate with them. She ordered. For hours the combined teams worked to establish the resonance field, Nathan and Kathy working alongside Zentari engineers. Despite initial resistance, gradually, the rift stabilized, then began to shrink. Just as they seemed to succeed, a secondary fluctuation rocked both vessels, causing a power surge through the ship systems. Nathan was thrown against a control panel, a sharp component piercing his shoulder. Human blood, red and unfamiliar, spilled onto the deck. Arya rushed to him. Medical team to the bridge. They carried Nathan to the medical bay where Zentari healers assessed his injury. Arya watched, concern evident in all four of her eyes. His physiology is different, but the wound is treatable. The healer reported he will recover. Arya remained as they treated him, watching the calm way he endured pain. When the healers finished, she dismissed them, staying alone with Nathan. You risked yourself for my ship, she said. He smiled weakly. Not just for your ship, for everyone aboard both vessels. The rift threatened us all. His selflessness confused her. On her world, males were protected, kept from danger there. Lives considered less valuable, yet he had acted with courage, putting others before himself. You should rest, she said finally. Nathan caught her hand with his, surprising her, his skin warm against her cooler touch. Thank you for trusting us today. Arya felt something shift inside her at his touch, a connection she had never experienced with anyone of her species. She withdrew her hand, confused by her reaction. When she returned to the bridge, she found the crisis fully resolved, the rift closed, and both vessels safe. Her crew worked quietly, efficient as always, but something had changed. She noticed Vela and the other officers looking at her differently. Commander, the Council's directive. Vela reminded her, we are to limit human access to our technology, yet today we allowed them full interaction with our systems. Arya straightened, I take full responsibility. The emergency required extraordinary measures, but Vela persisted. Her four eyes narrowing. You seem increasingly influenced by the human male. It is concerning. Arya felt anger rise at the accusation. My decisions are based on logic, not influence. The humans proved their worth today, saving both vessels. Nevertheless, Vela continued the Council's orders. Stand, will you enforce them tomorrow? Arya faced a decision that would define her career and perhaps her life. Would she follow the Council's prejudice directive or trust her own experience with humans? Especially Nathan. That night she reviewed everything she had learned about humans, their adaptability, their cooperation, their willingness to value contribution over category. She thought about Nathan, his intelligence, courage, and openness, challenging everything she had been taught about male capability. Could an entire civilization be wrong about something so fundamental? The thought was both terrifying and liberating. Making her decision, Arya accessed the secure communication system, contacting not the High Council, but Elder Samara, her former mentor, and the oldest living Zentari, a female known for wisdom rather than orthodoxy. Elder, I seek guidance. Arya began, then explained everything she had observed about humans and her growing doubts about Zentari gender beliefs. Samara listened, her ancient face thoughtful. When Arya finished, she spoke slowly. With age comes perspective, child. Our ways evolved over millennia, but evolution never stops. Remember our earliest histories. Arya recalled the ancient texts that spoke of a time before the current order, when Zentari society had been different, more balanced. Change is feared. Samara continued, but sometimes necessary, the universe teaches. If we listen, you have experienced something few. Zentari have genuine respect for a male mind. Perhaps this human challenges our assumptions, because they are indeed flawed. But the Council, Arya began, has its wisdom and its blindness. Samara finished, follow your judgment, Commander. You were chosen for this mission because of your intelligence, not your obedience. The communication ended, leaving Arya with much to consider. She spent hours in meditation, examining her beliefs, her experiences, and the path forward for both her people and humanity. Dawn of the final day arrived. Arya had made her decision, one that would either end her career or begin a new chapter for her people. She entered the negotiation chamber where both delegations waited, the humans looking resigned to the limited agreement, the Zentari crew expecting mere formalities. Arya stood tall before them. I have reconsidered the terms of our alliance. Surprised murmurs rippled through both groups. Vela stepped forward. Commander, the Council has already decided. I am aware, Arya replied, her voice firm. But I have observed evidence they have not. Humans have demonstrated intelligence, courage, and innovation worthy of full alliance. Status. Nathan looked up sharply. What are you suggesting? I propose a complete partnership, Arya announced. Technology, cultural exchange, scientific collaboration, and mutual defense. This exceeds your authority. Vela protested. Arya faced her second in command. I take full responsibility, and will defend my decision to the Council. The evidence supports this. Of course, humans have proven themselves through actions, not just words. Turning to Nathan, she continued, your approach to gender roles, while alien to us, has created strength through diversity. I believe the Zentari can learn from this. The room fell silent. Every eye on Arya. She had just challenged thousands of years of Zentari tradition, based on 5 days' experience with humans, particularly one human male. Nathan stood. We would welcome such a partnership, but not at the cost of your position. Commander Area appreciated his concern but remained resolute. Some principles transcend personal cost. I believe this alliance will benefit both our peoples. She produced a new agreement document, one she had prepared through the night, outlining terms for complete cooperation between humans and Zentari. Equal exchange of knowledge and technology. The human delegation reviewed it with growing enthusiasm, while the Zentari crew appeared shocked, some disapproving, others thoughtful. Vela pulled Arya aside. You realize, the council may strip you of rank for this. Arya nodded. I am prepared for that possibility, but unprepared to perpetuate an injustice. She returned to the table where Nathan extended his hand, a human gesture of agreement. She hesitated, then clasped it, feeling again that strange connection with the agreement sign. Celebrations began, but were interrupted by an incoming transmission from the Zentari High Council. Their timing suspiciously prompt. Commander Arya, the holographic image of High Commander Lyra appeared, her expression severe. We have been monitoring communications. Explain your deviation from our directive. Arya stood straight, facing the projection without fear. High Commander, with respect, our directive was based on incomplete information. I have observed humans directly and found them worthy of full alliance, and you determine this based on interaction with their males. Lyra said scornfully. Based on evidence. Arya corrected. Their society functions effectively with gender equality, perhaps more effectively than our own. In many respects, Lyra looked outraged. You suggest we should emulate humans? Primitive ways. Not emulate. Arya replied carefully. Consider evolution as constant. Elder Samara reminded me of our own history before the current order. The mention of Samara caused Lyra to pause. You consulted the elder. I sought wisdom. Arya acknowledged. The High Commander was silent for a long moment. The council will require extensive evidence to support your claims. I have documented everything, Arya said, and would request a full review including testimony from the humans. This is unprecedented. Lyra muttered as his first contact. Arya replied, many things are unprecedented until they occur. After further discussion, Lyra reluctantly agreed to review Arya's evidence and delay judgment on her actions. The transmission ended, leaving tension in its wake. Nathan approached you, took an enormous risk. Arya nodded. It was necessary. The cost of maintaining false beliefs is higher than the cost of challenging them. He smiled. That sounds like an Earth saying. Perhaps wisdom crosses species boundaries too. Arya suggested. The remainder of the day passed in planning the details of cooperation. Scientific teams were formed. Communication protocols. Established cultural exchange programs designed. Arya watched as her crew gradually began working with the humans, some still resistant, others increasingly engaged. That evening, a farewell gathering was held before the Zentari ship would depart to report to the council. Both crews mingled more freely now, barriers beginning to dissolve. Arya found Nathan on the observation deck watching Earth rotate below them. Beautiful, ain't it? He said. Arya looked at the blue planet. Yes, though very wet, she observed, drawing a laugh from him. I wanted to thank you, he said, for your courage today. I simply followed evidence. Arya replied, though we both know it was more than that. Nathan nodded. Sometimes seeing beyond our cultural programming requires more than evidence. It requires willingness to change. Arya considered this. You believe I have changed? Nathan's eyes met hers. Haven't we both? She could not deny it. Her perspective had shifted fundamentally in these few days, challenging her most basic assumptions about capability, leadership, and difference. What will you do if the council rejects your recommendation? Nathan Ascaderia straightened her tall form. I will continue to present evidence. Truth eventually prevails. And if they remove you from command, then perhaps I will request assignment as ambassador to Earth, she said, surprising herself with the word. Nathan smiled. Would welcome that, though I hope it doesn't come to such measures. As they stood together watching Earth, a sense of possibility expanded. With an area like the stars surrounding them. Perhaps change began with individuals before spreading to societies. Perhaps meeting across difference created strength. Neither side could achieve alone. The next morning, as final preparations for departure commenced, Arya And Nathan stood at the airlock. "This is not an ending," Arya said, "but a beginning." Nathan nodded. Relationships between worlds, like relationships between people, require nurturing. But the rewards are worth the effort. Arya extended her hand in the human gesture, which Nathan took, the touch confirming what she had come to believe. Connection transcended physical difference, cultural barriers, even species boundaries, as her ship pulled away from the human station. Arya watched the blue planet recede, her mind filled with new possibilities. She had arrived believing in Zentari superiority, in male inferiority, in rigid hierarchy. She departed questioning everything, embracing uncertainty as the beginning of wisdom on the journey. Home, she began documenting evidence for the council, but also reflecting on her personal transformation. The human man, Nathan Bell, had changed her perspective, not through argument, but through demonstration, through being himself, competent, compassionate, and confident. Whatever the council decided, Arya knew. She had glimpsed a truth larger than Zentari tradition. Humans, with their messy equality, their flexible roles, their openness to difference, had achieved something her people had not: true diversity of thought. Perhaps that was humanity's real strength, not technology or resources, but the ability to see value in difference, to harness the full spectrum of perspectives and abilities regardless of category. Arya stood on her ship's bridge watching. The stars streaked past as they traveled at faster than light speed toward home, toward confrontation, toward possible new beginning for her people. She felt no regret, only anticipation. The universe had more lessons to teach, and for the first time in her life, Arya was truly ready to learn.